Hey, Tank Tops and Sweaters friends, it's Kelly and Yvette, and we are here today just to have a little conversation about what we've been talking about in the month of October, and that is mental health, bringing awareness to it, having the language to talk about it, ending the silence, and what we're doing for ourselves this month and what we've done for ourselves to kind of take care of our mental health. So, with that being said, what
Yeah.
have you done for your mental health this month, Yvette?
No, I think I love our series because we jumped from Brene Brown's Atlas of the Heart last month and having all that
Mhm.
language into just bringing more awareness to mental health this month, which I think is such a huge thing. Um, I know that suicide prevention has been such a huge topic, and bringing awareness just to that as well. But I think we just need to be talking about it. I think we should end that stigma and allow ourselves to be
Mhm.
open, vulnerable, and honest, not with necessarily other people, but with ourselves. Um,
Right. Well, I think with both actually, because I think definitely with ourselves, but I think sometimes when we are open and honest with people we feel safe with, they in turn feel like they can be open and honest and we are a safe place too. But I
correct.
agree, the
Yeah.
first place you need to be open and honest is with ourselves.
Yeah, starting there first for sure, but you are right
Mhm.
completely. If you have loved ones and others that you share with, then they in turn can feel comfortable in sharing back. So, and we help each other, we empower each other, we lift each other up, we can be kind, but just listening sometimes is like key to helping one another. Just getting it out is such a healing process for sure. This month, what I've done is just really try to connect with myself, and my movement. So I don't know if my clients really notice, but in my classes, I've been adding at the end kind of some mobility movements where we just really slow down and we take deep breaths and slower movements of just really connecting with one part of our body, moving that piece, but really feeling each and every slow movement that we do. So whether it's like lifting our arms up overhead, but making sure that our core is connected and your shoulders are relaxed and your breath. How are you taking your breath? Are you breathing into your lungs? Are you breathing into your stomach? It's just all those tiny little things, but make such a huge, huge impact because by the end, I just see everyone is so relaxed because even
I
I
love
feel
that.
like completely
Yeah.
relaxed. Like you just took this big old mental break and you really connected with inside. I think that's such a huge, huge thing to do for yourself.
Mhm.
And it doesn't take very long. It doesn't take long at all. It can be like
And you can do it with stuff you're already doing too.
right. Exactly. Exactly. So I love that. And then just making sure I recharge, like we both got away for a weekend this month.
We did.
And it was such a recharging feeling of just spending time with people that you really love to spend time with, that make you
And
laugh.
laughing.
Yes, that make you laugh, that you
Yes.
can be silly with, that you can just be yourself and not think
Mhm.
about everything else that is happening around you. It's just a freeing and recharging moment. Um,
Yes.
and like when I got home, I just felt completely happy. I just,
I
you know,
love
and then
that.
when you're looking at the dishes and the laundry and everything else, it's like, yeah, it'll get done. It'll be fine.
Yeah,
But,
it'll be fine.
I'm ready to go. Like I'm ready to tackle and get going again. So I loved it. It was a huge, huge
Good.
recharge. And what have you done, my
Yeah.
dear? What have you been doing this month?
Well, I too got away. And I do agree with you. I think it is a very good recharge to just kind of take a step back. And it was just laughter and fun and um, little craziness, but it was all good for the soul, right? It was just a break from the day to day everything. And I also have been we are having this beautiful weather here in Florida where it's like low 80s. So it's like the perfect temperature to sit outside.
Oh
So
yeah.
I've been taking some mental health breaks just kind of by the pool, taking my book, just sitting outside watching the dog play, things like that. But I love what you said about your class because I did a couple stretch classes in the past month and I was thinking about that too. And I did it a little differently, but was having my clients and my students kind of connect to what they were feeling and where they were feeling, to take that pause and say, where am I feeling that tightness? And how can I breathe into it? How can I help it relax? And just really finding that mind body connection this month, I think has been like huge for so many people. Because like you said, we're talking about suicide awareness and it's also breast cancer awareness. And there's so many things that we are aware of. How do we settle into our own bodies and keep our mental health stable, and I think that what you're doing in class is a fantastic way, and all the just the little breaks. And I love seeing your pictures of your walks and things like that. And just I feel like nature is a huge
Huge,
one, especially right now in the
huge.
fall,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
for
definitely.
sure.
I mean, in Pacific Northwest, it is, I mean, I just wish I could take videos every day because it's just beautiful. And it's like someone watercolored everything. It's just so many
Oh,
different oranges and
yeah.
yellows and reds and a little bit of green here and there, and it's just beautiful. So yeah, I mean, taking advantage of that, it's even though it's kind of
Hmm.
raining or maybe a little bit cold, but still getting out there and just the fresh air and the crispness of it all, it just makes you feel warm, it makes you feel cozy, but it's such a huge recharge. Um, Even if you just open up your door and you stand in your
Yes,
doorway and you just
get
get
some
that
fresh
fresh
air.
air, is such a and breathe in and breathe out and just allow yourself to take a moment. I think that's kind of one of the things it's we're not talking about, you have to literally sit down for an hour and connect with yourself. If you can do that, awesome, amazing, go
Great.
for it.
Yeah. And
But
take 2 minutes.
right. But if you can't, because let's be honest, we are hugely busy, just so much going
Yeah.
on. Like just taking that very moment, 1, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever you feel you can
Whatever
give
you can.
yourself,
Yeah.
it's gonna help you get through the day. It's going to recharge you to help you get going. So you're not running on complete empty fumes here. You're running on a little bit more energy. You're running on a little bit more fuel that you've given yourself, which I think
Because
is
you
a
filled
huge
your own cup a little bit.
right, right. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that you can get, back to whatever you need to get to, and you don't feel like, oh my gosh, I am dreading the end of the day. I'm dreading having to get this done. You can just be like, all right,
Right.
got a little recharge, let's do this. And you're on your way.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you think that that recharge sometimes helps with letting go of the perfectionism we talk about so much?
I
We both suffer from it. So,
so I think perfectionism is such a hard one and it's so different for everyone. But yeah, I think it can because you're making yourself sit in the moment
mhm,
and you're making yourself, if you can, literally stop thinking for that moment. Connect with your inside. Don't let those thoughts just keep running and running, but make yourself, okay, I'm going to take this moment. I'm going to take a deep breath in. Where is that air going? How am I feeling at this moment? And then breathing out, pushing all those feelings out, pushing all those thoughts out. If you can think of it that way, then yeah, you're giving yourself that mental break, that mental recharge. It's really hard. I'm going to be honest. I can't always achieve that. That is not
yeah.
something I can always achieve because as a mom, as a wife, is everything going on. It's just
Mhm.
like the thoughts are like char, 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 and everything is just swirling around. So it's really hard.
Right.
I have to force myself. But I think if you can just make yourself go, okay, I'm going to only concentrate on this movement, or I'm only going to concentrate on this breath that I am taking right now.
Mhm.
And where is it leading? Where is it going? And then check in with yourself afterwards. Okay, how does that make me feel? How am I feeling? Am I helping myself calm down? Am I helping myself recharge? You know, um, However, sometimes the stress, the thoughts, the anxiety starts to really creep up. And sometimes I just need to like really push my body and really just move.
Mhm.
And maybe it's a vigorous walk up a hill. Maybe it's, doing my bar class, or just moving, shaking, dancing, whatever you need
Yeah.
to, a vigorous vacuum or throwing that
Yeah,
laundry.
not a gentle movement for
Right.
sure.
Sometimes it's not a gentle movement. Sometimes you have to do those big movements and really get that blood flowing, get your oxygen going, and
Mhm.
making yourself have to connect in a different way. I think that's the thing, is really just, I think our point is listening to yourself, taking that moment and listening to what you need, what you're thinking, how you're feeling.
And I don't think we realize like how many signals our body gives us because we're so busy with that to-do list in our head. That's like that
Yeah.
never ending cycle of I gotta do, I gotta go, I gotta do, I gotta go, this and that, and this kids, the husband, the house, the clean, everything, right? It's just a constant cycle of it's a constant barrage of have to do's.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we don't always give ourselves that pause.
No.
Totally lost my train. I was going
No.
somewhere.
No, we don't though. We don't give ourselves that pause all the time. And I think it's something that we should truly try and take advantage of whenever we can. And again, like I said, it doesn't have to be like an hour or half an hour,
Yeah.
whatever. If you have that, awesome, great, and wonderful. But if you don't, just take 1 to 2 minutes. Everyone has 1 to 2 minutes. I mean, literally, that would be like you running to the bathroom to go pee, right? So
Yeah.
instead, like do that, but
Yes,
come
but
back and then take that 1 to 2 minutes just to breathe. Like open up the front door or open up a window or do something where you can get some fresh air. Take
right.
a walk
And listening
around the
to your
block.
body, like, is it a calmness that I need? Is it breathing? Is it quiet? Is it I need to go for a run? I need to do a
Yes.
harder walk. I need to get on my bike and ride.
Yeah.
What is it that your body's telling you? Because our bodies do give us all these messages. We just don't always choose to listen to them. And, you know,
And I
in
think,
that busyness of everything in our heads.
yeah, and also think adding to that is some of us are afraid to listen. I think some of us are
Absolutely.
afraid to really address those feelings and really address those thoughts that we may have. And that's a whole nother thing of, that
Right.
fear and anxiety that can totally creep up, and having the
Right.
courage to understand everyone has feelings, and that's okay. And you're allowed to feel what you're feeling in that very moment, but you got to also allow yourself to move through that feeling, or to let that feeling go, or to
Instead of
somehow.
hanging on to it and stuffing it
Mhm.
deeper and deeper and deeper, like our generation tends to do.
Oh God, yes.
Just pretend like everything's okay and we'll just shove it deeper. But eventually
Yes.
it's gonna come back at some point. It's still there. We
Mhm.
haven't moved through it, we haven't worked through it. And I think that's part of goes back to what you said about ending the stigma. When I was growing up, there wasn't a term, we didn't talk about anxiety, right? I was the worry wart, the crybaby, the pain in the ass. I was never the kid who had anxiety, right?
Yeah.
And had I had language for it, and had my parents had language for it, there could have been better conversations. And I probably, hopefully, would not have felt so not good enough, right? Like that's the self-talk I've spent years trying to get rid of is I'm not good enough. And that comes from the anxiety. And so I think it's ending that, it's giving us the language, it's having conversations and being honest. You know, I do have anxiety, and it's not that doesn't mean I'm broken. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with me. It means that I deal with this mental issue of constantly worrying and having anxiety about what is going to happen. And so I think just kind of taking that away so then we don't have to shove it down, so that we can be there for when people want to talk to us and we can be honest about our own struggles and journeys in our mental health, to open the conversation for other people, because I think that's really the key is just opening the conversation, right?
think
just making
also
it.
just being able to listen to somebody else, right? Because even though
Mhm.
your journey is very personal, you share similar, experiences, or you share similar thoughts, or you share similar feelings. And though they're not exactly the same, they're similar. And I think that's kind of the key, is if we're willing to open up and talk about it, then we're not feeling so alone. We're not
Yeah,
feeling like we're the only one
only
who
one.
is feeling
Mhm.
inadequate and not worthy and, has all these issues. It's like, no, no, no. Like, we
Everyone, yeah,
everyone
most of
feels
us
this
do.
way. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think anxiety is so isolating, but society and culture has made it more isolating, from our generation
Right.
and back, because they
Right. It's
totally,
definitely getting better.
no, but they totally did not understand it whatsoever
Right.
and tried to
Exactly.
label it as different things. Now we're labeling it, I think, in the maybe correct ways, but I still feel like we have a long ways to go as far as addressing it. But we need to like open up a lot more and just be kind to one another, be able to listen to one another, and not try and fix everything, but just be open to listen and be
Do you remember
accepting
that Brene?
and kind.
Do you remember that Brene Brown quote we talked about last time? And I wish I had it in front of me. And it talks about empathy. And empathy is not you
Yes.
walking in my shoes. Empathy, or me walking in your shoes. Empathy is me listening to your story,
Hmm.
believing your story, and being
Right.
there for you. And I think that's where we kind of get lost, is that I don't necessarily have to believe that you're feel the exact same thing you're feeling. I just have to believe that what you are feeling is what you are feeling.
To
And
validate
what
it.
you're going through is what you're
Yeah.
exactly.
Just to
And
validate.
having that empathy of, I can feel for you. I may not understand it. I may not have been exactly there, but I can feel for you and I'm here with you, you know?
And how she talks about, like, you know, when your children are going through really hard times, you can't
Mhm.
solve everything for them. Sometimes you just need to sit in the room and let them cry, or just sit there and listen to them, because that's all they really need. You can't solve everything, even though you want to. It sounds
Exactly.
even so you want to. And like
Yes.
that is such a hard one for me, because
Fix it.
I want to fix all the problems. And it's not just with my child, but like even with my loved ones, I have learned
Yes.
over the years to like just sit and listen. Like,
Yeah. And sometimes if I feel
try
like
not
I
to
need to
talk.
fix, I'm like, do you want to vent or do you want me to give you advice or
Right.
if you flat
Right.
out tell me you want to vent, I know I just gotta keep my mouth shut and just listen and be there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's
Yeah.
hard. It's so hard sometimes,
So it is
because
so
you
hard
just
sometimes.
want to like fix it all, but we
Mhm.
can't. I mean, I think the other thing we need to understand is we all have feelings for a reason. And being upset or being mad or being angry or being sad or being, wherever you're at in your feelings, there's a reason why. And I think that sometimes it's so much easier when you have someone you can just talk it through with. And not for them to, give you the answer or for them to try and solve it, but just for you to just talk it through. Because that's all
Yeah,
you
to kind of
really
keep
need
it
to do sometimes, because you're letting it out, you're letting it go, you're
right.
processing it. And that's something that,
Yeah.
everyone needs to do if they can
But yeah,
process.
and I think as we open the conversation more, I think people are in general more likely to understand it's anxiety, mental health issues, stress, they're common things. And we can all help each other by having the conversations.
And
And by taking care of ourselves,
yeah,
getting our own mental health right, like you and I just talked about.
yeah, because you can't help anyone or be there for anyone unless you're there for yourself. You can't
Yeah.
fill anybody else's cup unless yours is full. I mean, we say that all the
All the
time.
time.
all the time.
Yes, all the time. I think
Oh,
another thing that I thought about this month is we've talked about glimmers, like finding little pieces instead of like triggers, like something that triggers you or makes you anxious during the day or upsets you. What brings you joy and gratitude throughout the day? So a lot of times when my youngest comes home from school, since she's only one living at home, and she'll say something, I was like, "Oh, you found a glimmer today." But I think just we are so often talk about when our kids come home from school or when we talk to them about the things that are wrong or the things that are bothering them, or even with our partners, right?
mhm.
Even our family and friends. It's always like, oh, this is wrong. Instead of, you know what, I had this moment today that brought me joy.
Yeah.
And so I think trying to bring those into conversation also help not just our mental health, but everyone's in general, just trying to get off of that negative track that we as a society seem to be sorely stuck on.
Oh, completely. And it's really hard because I mean there's so much going on in the world today. So it's super
Mhm.
duper hard to find positive things and glimmers. But I love how it's just glimmers are the little things. They don't have to be the really big things. They're just the little positive things that can happen through your day. A smile,
A
a laugh,
butterfly.
a
Yeah.
butterfly,
A cool breeze.
a
A
cool
walk on
breeze.
the beach. Yeah.
Yeah, a walk on
Anything.
the beach. Like just those little things that just kind of brighten up your day, give you a little bit of positivity, a little bit of hope for whatever you need in that moment, right? To help you recharge, to help you just know, like, okay, I can do this, I can keep going, everything's going to be okay, type thing.
Yeah. And I think for everybody listening, I think one thing that I've learned too is give yourself permission to take that moment. That I think we as moms and as women, we feel very guilty a lot of times for taking that moment to ourselves. I know I have fought with that guilt for a very long time,
Hmm.
but giving yourself permission to say, I'm going to do something for me. And that's a good thing. Not only is it okay, it's a good thing and it's something I should be doing. So we can kind of like get out of this guilt phase a lot of us seem to be in, because I'm right there too.
I think that's the
But
thing when
just
we,
permission to take care of yourself, get that mental health break.
yeah, and I think that's the thing. Like, we want to say, end the stigma around mental health, make it more accessible, more aware, more open in the conversations. But I think we need to end the stigma around so many other things as well in order to end that stigma because it ties all together. You know, the stigma
Yes.
around being moms, the stigma around being wives, the stigma around being just women in general. Um,
Working.
working, the stigma around men. I feel
Hmm.
like there's a lot of male stigmas out there right now that just need to end or be shut down or change in some way. So, I mean, I feel like
Well, I
there's so
think just the gendering of everything
mhm,
becomes such a burden on everyone, right? It's just
it
across
does.
the board, the gendering of everything, instead of just being humans
Yes,
and appreciating each other for who we are.
appreciating others as individuals of who we are
Hmm.
and accepting ourselves. But in order
Yes.
to, when we accept ourselves, that's one thing. But when others are accepting of us, that's a whole nother. And I think there's
Yeah.
just so many of the pressures of you have to fit into this box, or you have to fit into that box, or or even just having to pick a box. It's like
I know.
it's
Why do we have to think about it?
why. So I think
Why
if
can't we
we
just be?
right, and I think to me, like if we're gonna end the stigma around mental health, I think for me, ending the stigma means encompassing it all, encompassing all the stigmas, and just let's not even go there. Let's not even address them. Let's just let them fall off to the sides and embrace each other as individuals and
Love
uplift
that.
each other as individuals and accept each other as individuals. So
Yes,
that
I
is my
agree.
soapbox today, people.
I think it was a good soapbox to be on.
I kind of get frustrated with that though, because I feel like sometimes
Same.
you can feel like you're just being shoved into this box or that box, and there's just
Yeah.
expectations. And it's like, why are these expectations here?
When those
But
expectations put more pressure, which makes the anxiety worse, which makes the I'm not worthy worse. And it's just like a train wreck in
yes,
my brain ready to happen.
it is. Like, I have a huge beef with colleges right now because we're going through the process of applying in my household. And it's just like, my husband and I talked about this, the SATs and the ACTs, and how there's a new study that just came out, and how it really shows the inequality of taking those tests, and how it doesn't even prove or show results of, academically
It's a
smarter.
snapshot of one moment in time. Did you have a bad day? Did you not sleep last night? Did you have an
Right,
anxiety attack? Like,
right. But were
it's
you
a
able
tiny
to
little snapshot.
pay? Right, but were you able to pay for, the extra help and the private
Right.
instructions and the yada yada? I mean,
Did you
it's
have the
just
time?
right. There are so many
Yeah.
factors into it, and it's just really, really fascinating to me of how some schools are holding on to it and others are like, okay, we're going to embrace the fact that this isn't equal and we're
Yeah.
going to let it
This
drop
is
off.
not me. Yeah.
And it just is like, at the same time, these schools put so much pressure on these kids to perform in their applications. Like, why should you be so stressed out? Why can't it, back in our day, back in our generation,
We got the brochures in the mail.
you get the brochures in the mail. You sent them your grades, your transcripts. You sent them, you filled out a one-page application, and that was it. Like, you
Yeah.
filled it out like on physical
Yeah.
paper.
There was no computer. It was a
There
pen
was
and
no
paper
computer. It was on
and
paper.
white out.
You sent it off, and that was that. Like,
Mhm.
now it's like pages upon pages on the computer, writing essays upon essays, and it's just ridiculous. It's like, why so much
Well, and
pressure?
I think that we're right. And I think we're adding to the pressure that comes with just being that age,
Yes,
right?
yes, like,
Just becoming an adult. And
yes,
there's so much going on already. And we're just piling more and more and more. And we wonder why we have such a mental health crisis in this world.
yes,
We are putting these expectations on 17-year-olds. We tell them they can't sign out of class without a parent, but yet you're going to make this decision that's going to affect the rest of your life
I know. It's
by writing this one essay or taking this one test.
yes,
And I
amen.
think that that's
Yes,
where it's starting. We are making it so much worse because then they go into college with this stress, and then the college stress adds to it. And there's very few points where they're actually working through it and thinking, I'm okay. I'm a good person. It's all, I'm not good enough. I don't meet that standard or
yeah.
that class or that.
Oh
And I
yeah,
think that
no, it
that
is.
is where it's like going upstream to find why people are falling in instead of saving them down at the other end of the river. What is happening upstream? Well, this is part of it.
Oh, this is a
For
huge
sure.
part of it. And I love that analogy because it's so true. It's like, why aren't we at the top of the river? Why aren't we there
Yes.
helping them out? And it was really funny because on one of our college tours, I was able to talk to an admissions person, and I said that to him.
Mhm.
I'm like, so what are you doing to help these kids that are coming in? I
Mhm.
said, especially the ones that have been through the pandemic. I
Because
said,
that's what this
because you
generation has.
you have to
Mhm.
understand this has definitely affected them all. So the
Oh, yeah.
next, not just the ones who were here during the pandemic, but you have to expect all the ones that are coming in, the new
They're
generation,
coming up.
yeah, that
Uh-huh.
are going to be
Yeah.
coming in, how affected they were by all of that. And
And I think we're still learning how affected they were,
we're
especially in
completely,
the area of mental health.
but yeah, especially in the area of mental health. What are you doing to help these kids,
Mhm.
evolve
Before they
and
fall in.
get through?
Yeah.
Yes, before they fall into the
Yeah.
mental health crisis river. And that's just the thing, like,
Exactly.
it was really interesting because you could tell they were just like, "Oh, oh, well, I know we have a really good," but it was getting that ball rolling of really making them think about it,
Right.
of like, "Oh my gosh, you're right. What are we doing?"
Mhm.
And that's
Yeah.
the
I
thing,
mean,
like, this is such a pivotal age, like, trying to become an adult, and like you said, trying to make these adult decisions, and you're only 17, 18 years old. Like, I'm
right.
sorry, I was not ready to make any decisions until I was 17 or 18 years old. I was still
Yeah.
like, "Holy crap, like, how do I figure all
Yeah.
this out? Like, where am I gonna go? What am I gonna do?" Like, it's insanely hard. And yeah, there are those kids who are like, I know what I want to do. I'm going to figure it out. I got the ball rolling. And awesome. That is amazing. That is not like, I would say, what, 90, 80%,
And yeah.
90% of the population? Like, that's just
Well,
not.
and I will say, so like mine knows where she's going only because she did a summer session there, but I think that there's different things that she's worried about. Like this morning, we had a thing about a class and having to be perfect and to keep up that perfection so that it's not, that acceptance is not withdrawn, right? So there's this other added pressure that any kids that have gotten in and know where they want to go, I have to make sure I still look great to them and I don't slip up because then I won't be able to go. So I think that there's a, there's two sides to it that makes it really difficult.
And it's just that whole I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy,
Mhm.
and the perception of it all.
Yeah.
And the comparison,
Mhm.
like mine is constantly comparing themselves to others. And I'm like,
Mhm.
nobody's perfect. Nobody.
Yeah, and
Nobody's
that's
perfect.
the thing is and I think that because this generation, the generation of our kids, sees social media so much and so much edited and photoshopped and perfected and AI and all of that stuff, that they do have this sense that there is perfection to be achieved when it's really not a thing.
Mm-mm.
More so than we did. I mean, we saw it just in other people's, facades and
Yeah,
whatever they were
our
portraying.
comparison was around us and not
Right. And theirs is
outside in the world.
global
Yeah, theirs is global.
and
Yeah.
very made up, right? And
Oh,
so there's
completely.
this idea of perfection that is unattainable to anybody that is being thrown in their faces. And I think that that is definitely compounding the mental health crisis in
Oh,
their age group.
hugely. Hugely, hugely. And I think the pandemic also compounded that too, because all of them were
Mhm.
on it. All of them, that was the only thing they were doing was seeing it,
All day.
being in
Mhm.
social media, that it was just 24/7 right there.
Yeah. You couldn't read the body language. You couldn't get those
Mm-mm.
feelings that your nervous system sends you when you are happy to see someone or scared of someone, or you didn't get those
Yeah.
signals. So we spent what, almost 2 years without that connection of face to
Human.
face.
Yes.
Yeah,
Human connection.
co-regulation. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Because they lost 2 years and very formative years for a lot of them.
Oh, hugely formative. And people, let's make this very clear. Like, even though you may feel like an introvert or you don't want to be around people, you need to be around people.
Need to be around people.
You need to be around people. We are
We are human.
made,
We are made for connection.
yes, we are made for human connection. And I don't
Yes,
think that many people understand that. You can't go live out in the wilderness as a hermit and be mentally okay. And I think
right. Our
that
nervous systems were not built like that.
no, they were not. They were meant to have some kind of human connection. And if you are so socially anxiety, then get a pet, get a cat, get a dog, but have some kind of physical connection with that. Because I mean, I get that. I absolutely get that.
Mhm.
There are moments when you do need to have a moment to yourself and you do need to be away from everybody. But our nervous system and how we are wired to have those connections, those human interactions. That's just how we are. We are social creatures, no matter how you put it. So, so yeah. And that was a super, super hard one for my child.
Yes,
We
I
had a
had one
pandemic
I had for too.
and
Mhm.
having to learn those social interactions all over again.
Yeah, because you got in a habit of practicing them, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'll have to practice that for a long time. Then you get thrown back into it, and you're like, oh, what do I do?
And everything has changed. Everything
Yes,
changed when you came back. So it wasn't the same. And it was a whole new environment. It
right.
was a whole new everything. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was hard. It was really, really hard. Um, but we will wrap it up from there because we could go on and on and
We
on.
could go on forever.
We
Yes.
could go on forever. This needs to be like another podcast.
You know?
It's just the schools. But everyone, we just wanted to say, like, wrapping up our whole mental health awareness month, that we hope that you took some tips, tricks, or any of our movements that we did or things that we tried to share with you to heart, that you were able to connect with yourselves and your mental health and just check in. That's all we're saying. Just check in with yourself. Give your moment a break. Um, just do what you need to do for you. But if you have any questions, please know that we are always here. If you feel like you are in a crisis or you need any kind of help, please reach out to any of your doctors or any places that are helpful. I know there's some crisis lines, and we can link them in our information below this video. If you know anyone that has any suicidal thoughts, please get them help as soon as possible. But with that, please follow us, subscribe to our channel because we have more conversations, obviously, that we can talk about. We hope to bring
That's
some
the
more
thing.
guests in as well. Um, we have an exciting month coming up next month. We are going to be together. So physically, so follow us on Instagram at Tank Tops and Sweaters for some really fun things happening. Subscribe to this channel because we will be again putting another class out there and some more information will be coming soon. So please take care of yourselves, everyone. We love you and we hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. We'll see you soon.
Bye, guys.